everyone, this is Gina. Today I'm going to show you how to make this bracelet which will match the crystal sophistication set that I've been posting previously. So there's a necklace and a pair of earrings that match, and this is the bracelet. And this is what it looks like on. This is the clasping. Let's turn it so you can see how pretty the clasping is. And let's turn it again so you can see how pretty the rest of it is. So it's just the continuation of the modified herringbone stitch that I have been playing with in my previous two tutorials. And it just turns out really nice. Just a little bit of division between them with some crystal, and that's what you get. And it looks really nice with the crystal sophistication necklace and earrings. So this looks prettier when I lay it all out nicely, but I just want you to see what the pieces look like together so that you know that the set just really looks nice together. And that's what that looks like. This is what the bracelet looks like. And let's go ahead and look at the material list and see what we need for this project today. Okay, for this project, you're going to need some 11O seed beads. This is a Toho, and it is a Montana Gold, and you only need a few for the clasping area. Then you'll need 15O seed beads and 8O seed beads. Both are Toho also. This is Starlight. It's galvanized permanent finish gold tone. And then this is a metallic bronze. Then you will need some 4mm Bicone crystals and some 3mm Bicone crystals. So my 3mm is light sapphire Swarovski, and my 4mm Bicone crystal is a Swarovski, and it is light aqua. Then you will need a toggle clasp. I'm just using this gold tone fancy toggle. And then you will need some, I'm using 8-pound Nanofil. You can use 10-pound Nanofil, or you can use 6-pound Firelinne. And then I'm going to be using a size 12 beading needle. You can also use a size 10 if you'd like. I just find that with these little gold 15Os, a size 10 doesn't slide through very well. So I'm using a size 12 beading needle. Go ahead and thread onto your beading needle about a wingspan of thread. Know that you will need to extend your Firelinne or Nanofil or tie on to your project as you do this. So I will leave a video posted, a link in the description box beneath the video player if you do not know how to do that. So let's go ahead and get started on this project. Okay, to start this project, pick up a 4mm Bicone crystal, a 15O seed bead, a 3mm Bicone crystal, a 15O seed bead, a 4mm Bicone crystal, and 2 8O seed beads. Let me show you what I've got. So you've got a 4mm, 15O, 3mm, 15O, 4mm, and 2 8Os. Bring this down to the end of your thread. You don't have to leave a really long tail, but you do need to leave some to hold on to. And then you're going to come back up through the 4mm Bicone crystal. Pull your beads around into a circle like this. Now let's sew back through all of these beads to secure them, since we are not tying a knot. So we're going to go into the 15O and the Bicone on the top here, right where our thread is coming out. And then we'll go through the 15O on the other side of the Bicone crystal. Hold on to your beads and your tail thread, because at this point it'll just pull out. And then go down into the 4mm Bicone crystal. And then pull on your tail thread a little, pull on your working thread, pull your unit together. And you're not going to get it really tight yet, but just pull on the threads a little. And then go through one of the 8O seed beads and go down into it and kind of pull the hole up as you come through it, and then cross over and go into the other 8O seed bead and the bicone behind it. And this is what you should have. Now, sew through the 15-0 seed bead, and down into the 15-0 and 4mm bicone right here. And if your 8-0s flop together, that's okay. We'll fix that in a little bit. This is where we'll start our herringbone. But we're going to make our 3 units across and start a little bit of herringbone on either side so that as we work through our bracelet, we have something to connect to. So what we're going to do, that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it will in a minute. Pick up a 15-0 seed bead, a 3mm bicone, a 15-0 seed bead, and a 4mm bicone, then a 15-0 seed bead, a 3mm bicone, and a 15-0 seed bead. And I'll show you what I have. So I've got a 15-0, 3mm bicone, 15-0, 4mm bicone, 15-0, 3mm, and a 15-0. I am coming out of the 4mm bicone crystal. I'm going to go into the opposite side of it and pull these crystals down. And then I'm going to sew through this unit. So I'm just going to go into the 15-0, 3mm, 15-0, hold on to my beads, pull my thread through, tighten it, and then go into the 4mm and the 15-0, pull, and then go into the 15 or the 3mm bicone, 15-0, pull, and then into my 4mm bicone here. Now I need to travel over to this 4mm bicone, so I'll go through these 3 beads. And up into the 4mm bicone. And then we're going to pick up a 15-0, a 3mm bicone, a 15-0, a 4mm bicone, and 2 8-0 seed beads. So this is what I have: 15-0, 3mm, 15-0, 4mm, and 2 8-0s. Then I'm going to come from this 8-0 seed bead into the opposite side and pull these beads down into a circle here. Then I'm going to sew back through these beads. So I'll just go through the 3 on top. Then I'm going to go through this 4mm bicone. And then I'm going to go through this 8-0 seed bead here. And at this point I'm going to prepare it a little bit for my herringbone. So I'm going to pick up 2 8-0 seed beads. And I'm going to go, I'm coming out of this one, I'm going to go into this 8-0 right here. And I'm going to go up into the 4mm crystal. Pull these down, and then I'm going to sew back around. So go through the 3 beads on top here. And then I'm going to go into this 4mm bicone right here. And then I'm going to go down into the 2 8-0s. I'm going to go up into these 2 8-0s here. I'm going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead, go back down across, so I'm going to cross my thread over, I'm coming out of this 8-0 here, cross my thread over, go back down into these 2 8-0s, pull my thread, and then I'm just going to go up into this 8-0 here and the 8-0 above it. Make sure to pull your thread tight so that 15-0 seed bead pops down between those crystals nicely, and then go up into this 8/0, or not 8/0, 4mm bicone, excuse me. Now this side is prepared, but we want to work on this side. So we're going to go over here. This is just ready so that when we do the opposite side of our bracelet, it's ready to connect to. So now we're just going to go over into these 3 beads right here. So the 15/0, 4mm, 15/0, down into the crystal, and then go into the 8/0 seed bead right underneath that crystal you just went through, and pull your tail and everything. Get this unit tight again, because it's not really tight, but we'll get it secure while we do this part. So we're coming through this 8/0 here, pick up 2 8/0s, go into the opposite 8/0 from what you're coming out of, so the one next to the one you're coming out of, go up into it and the bicone crystal above it, and pull these down on top. Then go through the 3 top beads here, down into the 8/0, or excuse me, I don't know why I keep calling these crystals an 8/0, but go down into the crystal and then into the 2 8/0s. You're coming out of this 8/0 now, cross over, go into the 2 8/0s on the other side. And this seems like a lot of sewing, but this is just our bar so that it will stabilize the rest of the bracelet. The rest of the bracelet moves pretty quickly. So we're coming out of this 8/0 here, cross over, pick up a 15/0 seed bead, cross over, go into these 2 8/0s here. Now you're going to pull that 15/0 in between those 8/0s, tighten everything up so that the 15/0 is nicely planted between those crystals there. And this is what it should look like. Now you can cut your tail down just a little bit so it's not in your way. Leave a tag just for security while we work, and then we'll cut it down some more. Now I'm just going to sew through this one more time to secure that 15/0, but I'm going to pick up 2 8/0 seed beads first. I think the 15/0, it's fine. So we're coming out of this 8/0 seed bead. We're going to pick up 2 8/0s. We're going to go into just 1 8/0 on this side, on the bead next to the one you're coming out of. Straighten everything up. Mine's kind of at an angle, and I really don't want it at an angle, so I'm just kind of straightening it out. And then I'm going to pick up a 15/0 seed bead. I am now coming out of this 8/0 right here. I'm going to cross over, go into the 8/0 next to it, and up through 2 beads. I'm going to pull this 15/0 seed bead down in between the 8/0s. Because everything's going to be an 8/0 to me today. I don't know. There we go. And that's what you should have. Now we're going to work on making 13 units of herringbone, putting a 15/0 seed bead in between the herringbone stitches as we make the herringbone. So we're coming out of this side of this 8/0, pick up 2 8/0s, come into 1 on this side. So just go into the bead next to the bead you're coming out of. Pull these 2 8/0s down, lay them out, pick up a 15/0 seed bead, cross over, and go up into 2 8/0s. Pull the 15/0 down and place it between the 2 8/0s in the previous set. Then do that again. Pick up 2 8/0 seed beads like this. Cross over into the bead next to the one you're coming out of. Go down into it. Pull your beads down, straighten them up. Pick up a 15/0 seed bead, cross over, and go into the 8/0 next to the one you're coming out of and the one on top of it. And we're just going to continue doing these stitches until we have 13 sets. So each set of 2 is considered one set. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 sets. I'm going to continue until I have 13. So just pick up your 8-ohs, cross over, go into this 8-oh here. We'll do one more together. And as you've come across to go back up to where you can make another stitch, you will always put in a 15-oh seed bead. So come across, go into 2 on this side. Pull your 15-oh down, secure your stitch, and continue. Continue until you have 13 units of herringbone with the 15-oh between the beads, and we'll be back. As you can see, I have made 13 units of my herringbone. Now, the bracelet I'm going to make is going to be around 7 inches, maybe a little over. If you want a bigger bracelet, you may want to make 15 sections of your herringbone. If you want to make, or 16, if you want to make a smaller bracelet, then you may want to make just 10 or 11 units of herringbone. This is how you will adjust it. So now I have made my 13 units. Just however many units you make, remember, because each next section you're going to have to repeat that number. So I've got 13 units, and now I am going to pick up to make my next bar that holds my bracelet form together. I'm going to pick up a 4mm Bicone crystal. I'm going to pick up 2 8-oh seed beads and a 4mm Bicone crystal. And then I am going to go, I'm coming out of this side here after putting my 15-oh seed bead on. I'm going to go up into 1 8-oh seed bead right here, the one next to the one I'm coming out of. I'm going to pull these down and pull them up and tight into the form of the herringbone stitch like this. We get you a little closer, and now we're going to pick up a 15-oh seed bead, and we're going to go across into the 8-oh next to the one we're coming out of, into the crystal, and into the 2 8-ohs on the bottom. Now you're going to pick up 2 8-oh seed beads, and you're going to go across and go into the 2 or the 1 8-oh underneath the crystal on this side. Pull them down, pick up a 15-oh seed bead, and go across into the 8-oh next to the one you're coming out of. Now we are set to do our next stitch. However, we need to put a 15-oh up here, and we need to make our next connection for our bar here. So what we're going to do is we're going to first come up into the 2 8-ohs on this side and the 4mm Bicone crystal. Then we're going to pick up a 15-oh seed bead, and we're just going to come through this crystal on this side, and not the 8-ohs underneath it, just the crystal, just like this. Pull this 15-oh down between the crystals and the 8-ohs here, and then we're going to build our next unit on this side, so that as we come up on the other half of our bracelet, we have something to attach to. So what we're going to do is make this unit just like we did here, down here. So what you're going to do is pick up a 15-oh seed bead, a 3mm Bicone crystal, and a 15-oh seed bead, and a 4mm Bicone crystal, and a 15-oh seed bead, and a 3mm Bicone crystal, and a 15-oh seed bead. So I will show you what I've got. 15-oh, 3mm, 15-oh, 4mm, 15-oh, 3mm, 15-oh. Drop these down to your piece, and just come back through the crystal you're coming out of. So avoid the 8-ohs on either side of it, and just come through it, just like this, and pull these down into a circle. Now, sew back through these to secure them. So just go into your 15-oh, and just continue around until you've sewn through all of these beads. It is best if you can do the 15 O's at the same time you do the 3 millimeter, so that it doesn't pull the 15 O over the Bicone crystal, the 4 millimeter, but I didn't. So what I mean is I'm coming out here, and then I'll just go through these 3 together, and then down through here. Now I'm coming through this Bicone crystal here. I want to also come down through my 2 8-0 seed beads beneath it. Now it looks kind of strange, but it is prepared so that when we come back around and work our way up this half of the bracelet, it's there, it's ready, and it's prepared. Now we're going to work on this section of herringbone here. So I'm coming out of these 2 8-0 seed beads. I'm going to pick up 2 8-0 seed beads, and then I'm going to come down through just 1 8-0 next to the one I'm coming out of, and pull these 2 down. Pick up my 15-0 seed bead, cross over, go up into the 2 8-0s on this side. So come through 2 beads now, and pull your 15-0 down. And we're just going to repeat exactly what we did up here. We'll do one more together. Pick up 2 8-0s, cross over, go into one of the 8-0s. Now I have a funny 8-0, so I am going to get rid of that 8-0. It's weird. And when you get a weird one, you're better off if you just toss it, because it's going to make your piece look weird and it's going to bug you. So just pick up 2 8-0s. Pretend like I didn't have that weird one. I've picked up 2 8-0s, cross over, pull my beads down, pick up a 15-0, and then on this side go through 2, just like we did on the section above. And again, if your 15-0 falls over, just push it over into the middle of the beads and then tighten your thread. Again, make 13 sets of the herringbone, or you can make whatever number you have decided upon. Once you have finished making your sets of herringbone, then you will put in another connection just like this one. So we will do the exact same process we just did 2 more times. So you will have a section of herringbone, and then your crystals, a section of herringbone, and then your crystals, and then you will make a section of herringbone, and we'll come back. This is a little further along. This is what I want it to look like. I want you to make a section here, crystals. So we have this section. We're going to make this section, and then just the herringbone here, and we'll come back. If you need to back up the video so that you can watch how to make your section of crystals in between each section of herringbone, then please do that. And so this is what you should have so far. So we have done 4 sections of our herringbone with 3 crystal bars in between, and now I'm coming out of my 13th section of my herringbone, and I'm going to make the bar that goes across this way, and we'll put a clasp on, and then we'll work up the other side of the bracelet. So what we're going to do now, we're going to pick up a 4mm Bicone crystal, a 15-0 seed bead, a 3mm Bicone crystal, a 15-0 seed bead, and then a 4mm Bicone crystal, just like this. Now we are going to go into the opposite bead from which we're coming, or the one next to the one we're coming out of. Go into it, pull these beads down, and lay them out on top like this. And then we will pick up a 15-0 seed bead. We're coming out of this 8-0 seed bead here. We're going to go straight across, cross over, and go up through the crystal right here, and the 8-0 and the crystal. And we're going to bring this 15-0 seed bead down between the 8-0s like this. Then we're going to sew back through this unit. So we're going to go through this 15-0 crystal and 15-0 here. Down into the crystal on this side. Pick up a 15-0 seed bead. And then cross over, coming back into the crystal on the opposite side. So the one next to the one you're coming out of. Pull that 15-0 up between the crystals and the 8-0s. Then sew through the 15-0, the bicone crystal, and the 15-0 on the top here. And then down into this crystal right here. Now we need to make our middle section, so we'll pick up a 15-0, a 3mm bicone crystal, a 15-0, and a 4mm bicone crystal, and then a 15-0, a 3mm bicone crystal, and a 15-0. And I will show you what I have. 15-0, 3mm, 15-0, 4mm, 15-0, 3mm, and 15-0. Then we will just circle around and come back into the opposite side of the crystal we're coming out of and pull through. Now we have to secure this, so we're going to sew back through it again. So I'm coming out of the 4mm bicone. I'm going to go into the 15-0, 3mm, and 15-0 right here. I'm going to put my finger on it and thumb so that I can just pull it through nice and neat. And then continue back through the rest of it. Sorry, I'm not in a very good position here. Give me a second to reposition myself. There we go. The longer the piece gets, the more difficult it is for me to try to hold it in one little spot so that it stays in the camera and organized for you guys. Sorry about that. So I'm just sewing all the way around. Now I've come through these 3 beads on top. I'm going to go down into the bicone crystal here. And now I need to sew through these 3 beads and this bicone so I can make my last unit, because we're going to make 3 of them now instead of just 2, so that we can begin traveling down the other side of our bracelet. So I've gone through these 3 beads on the bottom. I'm going to come up through this 4mm bicone here and make my last unit here for the top. So I'm going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead, a 3mm bicone crystal, a 15-0 seed bead, and a 4mm bicone crystal, a 15 and then 2 8-0 seed beads. So this is what I have: 15-0, 3mm, 15-0, 4mm, and 2 8-0 seed beads. Now I'm going to come back up through the 4mm bicone right here. So I'm coming out of this side, I'm going into the opposite side. And I'm just going to pull this up through like this. Now I'm going to sew back through the 3 on top here, the 3 beads, and then pull my thread. Then I'm going to go down through the crystal and the 8-0 like this. Then I want to pick up 2 8-0 seed beads and go into the 8-0 next to the one I'm coming out of, and the crystal, just the crystal, don't go through the 15 O's on the top, and pull. Now we have to work our way back down to put this seed bead in, so we're going to turn this again, go through these 3 beads here, I'm going to come just through the crystal, right here, and pick up a 15-0 seed bead, and come up through this crystal here, and pop that 15-0 down between my crystals. And now I have to work on putting my clasping on this end because we're not going to have any thread to come back and do this. So we're going to do this now. So what we have to do is we have to sew through these 2 beads here, and then this one here, and then work our way over and up through this one. So let me show you. This is going to be the most confusing part of this particular project, and it's really not hard. We just have to stay with our thread path so that we don't make our thread look all strange. So we're coming out of this crystal here. We're going to go into the 15-0 and the bicone and the 15-0 here. Now we're coming out of this center 3 beads. We're going to go down into just the crystal here, the 4mm bicone crystal, and just avoid the 8-0s underneath it. Then we're going to sew through this 15-0 seed bead right here. We're going to come up this 4mm bicone crystal right here, and the 15-0 if you can get it. If you can't, that's okay. Just come up the crystal, go into the 15-0 and the bicone crystal right here. I hope I'm in camera. There we go. And this is where we're going to add some beads to make our clasping. So you're going to pick up an 11-0 and then a 3mm bicone crystal, and then an 8-0. This is what I have. I'm going to back off just a little so I stay in frame and drop these down. Then I'm going to pick up 1/2 of my toggle. I'm going to go through the loop on the toggle. I'm going to drop it down. I'm going to go back through just the 8-0 here. Put my thumb over it and pull my thread through until I bring all of this down to this little crystal right here. Then I pick up a crystal and an 11-0 seed bead, and now we're coming out of this 8-0 here. We are going to go into this bicone crystal here on top of our last unit of crystal. So go into just the crystal. You can go into the 15-0 behind it if you want to. Mine's at a funny angle, but I got it. So I'm going through those 2 beads. I'm going to pull this down. And this is what it should look like so far. Get you close so you can see it. Now we have to sew back through it, so we have to go through our beads so that we can end up back into these crystals going this direction. So what we have to do is we have to go through this bead here, through the 15-0, through this bead here, through these 3 here, down through here, through this 15O, up through this crystal, and back up to secure. So I know that looks confusing, but that's the only way we're going to be able to come back through. Now, we could try to sew through these and just come back, but you're going to get it all boggled up and it's going to look funny. So this is the most confusing part. But if you are familiar with beading, it's not that hard. So we're going to go down into this crystal now. We're coming out of the 15O. We're going to go into this crystal. We're going to go into the 15O seed bead right here between the 8Os and the crystals. We're then going to go up into this 4mm bicone crystal right here. And just the crystal if you can. It wants to go up into that other 15O, and I don't want it to, so just into the crystal. And then we're going to go through these 3 beads in the middle. So the 15O and the bicone and the 15O. Right here. Let's see if I can get all 3 of them. These 15Os have a tendency to be at funny angles, so you may just have to go through whatever beads you can get through and then pick back up. Then we're going to go through that 15O and that 4mm bicone because I didn't get the 15O on the other side of the 3mm. So through here, down through here, into this 15O, here, up into this bicone crystal here, into the 15O, and the crystal, and the 11O, and the crystal. Pull through, back off just a tiny bit. And now I'm going to go up through this 8O seed bead and through my clasping. And we're only going to do this once. So this is going to have 2, it's going to have a double thread through it, but it won't have a triple or quadruple thread through it, just 2. Simply because sewing around it, if you want to go around it again, you can. But I don't want to fill up my crystal and make it look funny either. So I'm just going to go into this 8O seed bead now. I'm coming through my clasping into the 8O, pull through, tighten everything up. Then I will go through these beads here. So the bicone crystal, the 11O, the bicone crystal. Then I'm going to go through this 15O seed bead here. And then I will go down into this crystal here and up through my 2 8O seed beads. Let me back off. So now I'm coming through the crystal and the 2 8Os. I want to make sure my beads aren't laying all crooked and weird and straighten them out because they have a tendency to get caught on that 15O and kind of curve funny. So just straighten them out as much as you can. And when we do more herringbone, that'll help too. So I'm coming through these 2 8Os. I'm going to pick up 2 8Os, go through 1 on the side, pick up a 15O seed bead, cross over and go through 2 8Os on this side. Pull my 15O seed bead down in between those beads and then of course continue my herringbone. Let's do 1 more, cross over, go up into the 8O on this side, lay your beads out, pick up a 15O, and go through 2, just like we did on the other side. So continue until you have 13 units of the herringbone, and we'll come back and I will show you how to connect to the bar. We'll make our last unit. Okay, so now I have made my 13 units of herringbone and I'm ready to attach to my first bar that is extending out here waiting for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm coming out of this 8/0 seed bead right here. Let's get you into camera here. And I am going to pick up a 4mm Bicone crystal and 2 8/0 seed beads, like this, and I am going to come into this crystal right here, and then into this 8/0 seed bead right here on the far side or the inside of my herringbone. And I'm just going to gently hold on to all of this and pull it together like this. Now I am going to pick up a 15/0 seed bead and I'm going to come from this 8/0 seed bead into this one and the crystal right here. And then I'm going to go up into this 8/0 seed bead. Of course you can do it all at once too, but since I did it separately. And then I'm just going to straighten everything out because I do not want this 8/0 on top of this 15/0. So I'm just going to kind of move it over. Then I'm going to go through this 8/0 and the crystal right here and pull it together. Pick up a 15/0 seed bead and go into this crystal here. Get my hands in the right position here. This really isn't this hard, guys, I promise. And then up through this 8/0 also. So through the 4mm bicone and the 8/0 seed bead, and pull this 15/0 seed bead down between the crystals and the 8/0s. Pick up 2 8/0 seed beads. Go into this 8/0 here. I'm coming out here. We're going to go into this one. Pull them together. Pick up a 15/0 seed bead and go down into the first 8/0 on this side under the crystal and the one on top of it. Pull it together. Just kind of arrange your beads so that they look nice, and then continue your herringbone. So pick up 2 8/0 seed beads, go into this 8/0 just like we've been doing all along, pull these down, pick up a 15/0 seed bead, and then go into this 8/0 here and the one on top of it. Pull this together. And as you do this, everything will straighten up and look pretty good. So continue making your herringbone until you have 13. Connect just like you did on here. And then make 13 more. Connect just like you did here on here. And then when we get to this one, we'll come back. So if you need to, just back up the video, watch how to connect these units here each time that you need to, and then you will have guidance on how to do each one if you forget or if you're confused. So go ahead and continue until you're attached to this one. Okay, so as you can see, I have finished all my segments, connecting them to the crystal bars, and after I made my last connection here, I've put on my herringbone and I put in my 15/0 seed bead, so that made me have 2 units of herringbone. Then of course I have the 2 units down here that we did when we very first started the project. So what I need to do is I need to continue my herringbone doing 9 units. When we get towards the 9th unit here, we'll connect. So I'm going to go ahead and do 9 more units, and when we get right here, we'll be back. Okay, so I finished my 9 units, which altogether that will be 11 units, and then I have 12, 13 up here. So I'm coming out of this 8/0 seed bead after putting my 15/0 on and coming back up, finishing my herringbone stitch. Now I'm going to go up into this bead, this one right here, on my finished portion that we did when we very first started the project. So I'm going to go into this outside bead because I'm coming out of the outside bead on my strip of herringbone here. I'm going to hold it together, and then I'm going to cross over and go into this bead on the finished portion here, and down into this bead, the inside one on my herringbone right here, and pull it together. I want to make sure this thread goes down in here pretty well. We'll hide it with the 15/0, but make sure it sinks down in there really well. It might take a little bit of manipulation, but you can get it in there. And then pick up a 15/0 seed bead. We're coming out here, we're going to go up here and into 2 beads right here. Pull this 15/0 down and up in between the 8/0s. Now we're going to go up into this 8/0 up here. So we're in this one. Let's go up into this one right here. And go through this 15/0 seed bead we had placed earlier. Go down into 2 8/0 seed beads here. Pull your thread through. Tighten everything up, straighten it up, make sure it looks pretty good. Pick up a 15/0 seed bead. And then go up through just 1 bead on this side this time. And pull your 15/0. And then we are going to go up into, can I do that? Yeah. We're going to pick up a 15/0 seed bead, and we're going to cross over and go into this 8/0 here. So we're coming out of this one, we're going to cross over and go into this one, and pull that 15/0 down. Now we've got all our 15/0s on, and we're coming out of this inside 8/0 seed bead. So what we need to do is we need to go up into this crystal here. Just go up into it. Then I want you to go into this 15/0 seed bead and this Bicone crystal and the 15/0 behind it, and just those 2 there. Don't go into the 15/0 next to this 15/0, just these 3 right here. Let me make sure I'm in camera here. This is the part I want you to follow on, because we have to sew up through in a particular way to get our clasping on so that our thread blends in nicely. Now we're coming out of this 15/0, we're going to go down into this crystal here. Pull it through. Go into this 15/0 seed bead here. Pull through. There's where my little tail was. I'm just going to move it out of the way. And I'm going to come up through this crystal. and pull my thread through. So I know I kind of tangled that around, but all I did was just come up into this crystal on the end here. So you should be on the very end of your piece, coming out of the crystal, and then you're going to pick up and go through the 15-0 and the crystal in front of that. Just like this. Okay, so now we're coming out of this bicone crystal. We're going to put our clasping on. So we're going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead and an 8-0 seed bead and, excuse me, an 11-0 seed bead, a 3mm bicone crystal, and an 8-0 seed bead. And drop this down. And then we're going to pick up the other side of our clasp, and we are just going to go through this clasp and bring it down. And let me back off a little here. And then we're going to go through this 8-0 seed bead right here. Hold on to the 8-0. Pull your clasp down. And then we are going to pick up a crystal and an 11-0, so a 3mm bicone crystal and an 11-0 seed bead. And then we are going to go into the inside of this last 3mm crystal. So you don't want to come from the outside of your bracelet. You want to come from the inside and go into this 3mm bicone crystal. Just like that. Pull it through. And this is what it should look like, just like this. Now, we need to come through this 15-0 seed bead and the crystal beneath it. And just exit that 4mm bicone crystal. We're going to sew back around one more time, and then we're going to tie this off and be done. So now we're going to go into this 15-0 seed bead. Then we're going to go up into this 4mm crystal right here. And pull through. And then into these 3 beads here, this 15-0 bicone crystal, 15-0, if I can get through all 3 of them. Probably just going to have to go through the bicone. Oh, I got them. Okay, through all 3 of these beads, pull through, down into this bicone crystal here. So I'm just following my original thread path, making sure that I follow it without having any threads in between my beads. Now I'm going to go into this 15-0 seed bead here. This also firms the piece up, makes your end piece nice and firm. And then I'm going to go into this bicone crystal on the side again. And at this point, I'm going to get rid of this little tiny tail. I'm just going to kind of burn it down. I'm going to leave it a little bit. I'll take care of that better later. But then I'm going to come up through this 15-0 seed bead and this bicone crystal right here. Up through my clasping again to reinforce it. So I'm going to go through this 11-0 seed bead, this bicone crystal, the 8-0, and the clasp. Go around the clasp into the 8-0, the bicone crystal, the 11-0, and pull through. Then I'm going to go into this bicone here. And if you can get the 15-0, great, but it's kind of really sitting at an angle, so probably won't be able to. Just go through the bicone. then come through this 15-0 here, and down into the crystal, and down into the herringbone. So I'm coming down a couple of stitches, or a couple of 8/0s into the herringbone. Turn over your piece, bring your thread around to the back, and you can see this stitch right here. This is where I originally added the stitches together. So there's a stitch in between each one anyway, but this one is the one that we actually put together from our beginning to our existing 11 on our piece. I'm just going to go under both those little pieces of thread you can see, and then I'm just going to tie a knot. Then I'm going to go through a couple more beads. Doesn't matter how you do it, just sew through a few beads, grab that middle thread bridge between the herringbone stitches, and make a loop and put your needle through it and pull. You should pull a knot down and make sure that it goes down between the beads and is nice and tight and neat. Then I'm just going to go down a couple more without tying a knot. I'm going to cross over and go down a few more here. And then I'm going to cut off my thread, bring it to the back, and I've left a little tag. I've left it too long actually. Let me cut it a little more. And then I'm going to pull it over so it's, when I make my blob, it's on the back of my piece. And then I'm just going to melt that down into the beads, push it over, turn over your piece, and now you have a very nice bracelet. Turned out really pretty. Let's see how long it is, just to make sure. And we are going to measure from the middle of this part of the clasp, and it's right at 7 inches. Boy, I actually did it that time. I got my target length. So this is exactly 7 inches. And I'm going to, and 7 inches is a medium length. So if you want a longer length than that, like I said, you just add a little bit more herringbone to each stitch in between. But this fits me perfectly. So I have a 6.5 inch wrist, and I like a 7 inch because of course it takes up room on your wrist and you want it to move. You don't want it to be stuck against your skin. So 7 works really good for me. And you can just kind of play with it. You can measure this, each unit is about 1.5 inches. So if you want 8 inches, just do a little bit of math. Figure out how many inches you want each of these sections to be to end up with what you want. But make sure you know that this portion here is going to take up at least 1 inch from the top here to the top here. And then from here to here, you've got more. So 1.5 inches at least you're going to have to give yourself. So you can just kind of play with it and figure out exactly how you want to do your length. It is very adjustable, and this is what it looks like. And I think it turned out just really pretty. I'm really happy with this. Anyway, that's what it looks like. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. See you later. Bye-bye.